we should be live. Leave it. Hello everyone. Everyone. Are you there, Six?
Hello?
Or did you got camera shy?
No, I was just trying to reload stuff so it would actually show up for this for the stream.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because I think it froze. The RPG Maker window.
Well, that's just because I went out of frame to do stuff.
I see.
That's RPG Maker MZ for you.
And Discord's a similar mistress, I think. Similar tough mistress that you cannot do anything but watch Discord. So, what you call it? Notifications?
Notifications.
Like things to remind people about.
Hey y'all! We released a few things these past few days for Halloween, including a new page for Orchard Online Dev Mode, a small little update to Night Shift to take the completed game and add a little bonus ending on the end for the spooky season vibes, and we also, not me, not we, Icarue released a new update to Resident Maiden, and you are able to go and download that, play that, and report all the bugs.
There's a lot of bugs. Well, there's like 4 that just keep getting reported over and over again.
Yeah, that's why you gotta fix it quickly.
I'll try to fix them while we stream. If Discord doesn't get a hissy fit. Is hissy fit a bad word?
Is what?
Hissy fit?
Hissy fit? Not
Yeah.
really. Not really, no.
Is it because most of my slang comes from online and sometimes not even American slang, so like British or Australian slang? So it's like for some people, some things are like a bad word.
If hissy fit is a bad word in another culture, I am not aware of it. That's probably the way to phrase it.
I remember once saying bollocks. And then two old ladies on the bus just stared at me. Like, who said that? You said that? Why are you saying that? And that's when I learned bollocks is a bad word.
Basically like ass, I think, if I remember correctly, for how British tend to use it.
No, that's buttocks. There's bollock and then there's buttock.
Then bollocks is like bullshit or something, I don't know.
I think that's that thing's dangling from the men's groin. The plural thing, not the individual thing.
Okay. Hey, Chefco.
Hello. So if I remember correctly, we just escaped from the mansion, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna post a quick thing on my Discord for anyone who wants to tune in.
Held the message for reason. Let's expand. Oh, it's just coming. I'll allow it. SAM? AMS. First that chat. Welcome, by the way. He says bollocks is used as bullshit, and it does mean testicle as well. There we go.
British and their fancy terminology. Okay, and last time we got out of there, I've talked to Atramentia. I think since we last did this, Atramentia actually joined both our Discords and has been somewhat active.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked in more detail to Atramentia about like what suggestions I'd make, like
Bless you. Bless you.
I don't think you do. I don't think you sing like Gesundheit and stuff for like coughing, do you?
Oh, I thought it was a sneeze.
Did it sound like that? Oopsie daisy.
Yes, especially the second one.
Uh,
Someone joined. Joined. New one joined. Well, sir is not exactly new. Sarah. Oh, there goes Discord again. And I didn't need to say anything. Yay. You were saying, I think?
what was I saying? Yeah, no, we just talked about it, and the general idea of, hey, how much, like, how can you adjust this to try to smooth out the issues I had with as minimal changes as possible? And my advice, basically, the thought that came to mind for me was basically let's recontextualize some stuff. Try to make the whole section in the mansion feel a bit more like you're trying to figure out stuff, like it's part of the process of working towards the greater goal. Right. So, like, I think my suggestion was basically, hey, take that initial scene on the dock where it's like, oh, there's something wrong with this, the knights and stuff like that. Maybe add some things to suggest maybe the like palace and the princess and the prince and all that sort of stuff maybe in on it. So it's like as soon as like, oh, okay, we're gonna get delivered to the like palace. So okay, let's go there, and we'll while we're there see if we can learn anything more about what's going on, and just add some more things in the whole process of going through it, where people are like concluding, okay, they're probably not involved, and have that lead up to the knight showing up again and being, okay, here I am, and then we get basically to where we are here.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the idea is that that would hopefully make it feel a little less side questy in that sense, and even if it doesn't necessarily result in anything specific outside of ruling out that it's not like a government run thing by like the kingdom basically, or wherever we are specifically.
Right. Yeah, I think it does help, especially giving a reason to make you stay rather than like, okay, so we're here, let's sprint out. Ooh,
yeah, and
dark.
that's basically my idea to, and is a bit. That's basically my idea to try to achieve what smooth out some of the issues I had with it, while not adding a ton of work to redo stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that because I think a lot of what's there is good. It's just I do think that you can go a long way with just those small changes.
Was there any incentive to battle?
XP. But I am lazy. Icarue, whenever we make games together, we need to make sure there isn't like grinding.
Battle grinding or
grinding. The feeling of something it being tedious. Like if you're going through a dungeon for the story. Oh, hey, Mimic. Okay.
It's a Mimic. So Oxycron says, interesting side bit, but bless you originated from bless me, which was shortened from the longer bless me to not become afflicted by this. A short serve player to not catch whatever the other person is ill with. Another message. Hey yo, I'll follow ya, but not watch the stream. Still yet to play the game. Yeah, feel free to play the game first. It's a good game.
It's perfectly.
Go ahead.
That's perfectly reasonable. I know that Icarue's been putting the VODs on his YouTube for this game in particular. If you want to go back and watch them at your leisure later on. So even the time limit on VODs shouldn't be an issue there. Do I know you guys? Not my first message, is it? I feel like we've met before. Joe Nerico, sounds like a very familiar name. Should I recognize that name? I feel like I do.
I think it's one of the people that came from Twitch, that's just browsing Twitch and only Twitch, and doesn't know any 4 games. I think I hit the nail. Lux Rift says definitely like the later on idea. Oh right, I'm uploading this to YouTube, ain't I? So Astramania? Oh, I forgot the name.
Trementia.
Trementia. We'll watch this at a later date when they have time. See, you had an easier time defeating the Mimic if you had grinded.
If I have what?
Grinded. If you have at least engaged in battle.
Yeah, I've taken out a third of its health, and I sort of did a lot of the stronger setups that I know of.
What do you define by grinding? Like, if you... Like, you as a dev... Go ahead.
Any point where a player feels like they are going and doing an activity solely for the sake of progression of mechanical elements.
However, should we punish the player if they escape from every battle, though?
So my approach in between has been the idea of you design the dungeons so that there are specific, like a certain amount of battles you can't get away from. You sort of have to in order to like walk through it. So there's some element that you can do of that. And you might be able to assume, hey, they're going to fight a few more battles across it. I don't like random encounters in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the better approach is generally to not make levels that big of a deal in the first place, and to find a different way to give a feeling of progression without making it like super duper required.
Like more like strategy instead of pure attribute difference, right?
So there's a horizontal progression that would be more like different strategies to approach something and that sort of thing. So for sure, I think that's generally good. From what I found in between, because I started between with no vertical progression whatsoever, it was entirely horizontal progression. And what I found is that people really do want vertical progression to an extent. In my head, the best way, like if I were to restart between now, I would probably make it something. I have some progression stuff, but like I can imagine giving like class levels. They're not like big stat increases each time, but they're more about like unlocking abilities and stuff. So you still get like the level up feeling of vertical progression, but it doesn't necessarily play into the actual stats a bunch. That sort of thing, I think, would probably be a good way to approach it.
Could also make it so... I mean, there are levels, and you could in theory grind a lot in order to gain like a tactical advantage, but you could also give a lot of attributes by doing other things, like what Magical Camp did, which is, oh, you became friends with this certain person, and you get like +5 to a stat, which is equivalent to like 5 levels.
I don't like that personally.
Ew.
Because it's very specific. You get sort of, based on your choices, you get sort of roped into a specific build based on that. And it feels limiting in a way I wouldn't want to be, basically.
Right. I do find certain meditative qualities to grind, but it doesn't have to be battle grinding. I would consider them trashy games, but on itself they're not bad, but like they force me to repeat the same routine every day in order to get like to a point. Sometimes they don't even give you different things. It's just, oh, it's Monday, it's time to swim, and if you swim, you have to hold your swimsuit. And it's like every month, like 2 to 3 clicks just to pass Monday. But I don't
You
know.
got an engagement ring? Uh-oh. Oh, last time I looked in a mirror had the potential for, very, very quick. If you can put up the other one.
I put the
real
thing.
super quick. Okay. Okay, didn't do it. Okay, that's good to know. I accidentally pressed on that. You can take it down now.
What if the engagement ring, it does the thing you're scared to do? Oh, interesting. If I can grind enough to become invincible, I will question the level system. That's what Oxycron says, and then Chef says, I kinda felt that in Stark Knight's aura. If you invest so much in either attack or magical attack, some encounters feel bad. Bad in the sense of too easy or too hard? Because I can see
Because
both of them.
you get limited to a specific play style. I don't know if Star Knightus has like the ability to change up like your setup and whatnot easily, but
Like, the games I like a little bit grindy are specific. The ones that specifically come to mind are. What is this game? You throw like a girl, that's one of them, and then the other one is. Accidental Girl, something like that?
the life sims.
Yes, but some of them, not all of them. Like, I do have to feel like I'm building towards something. I'm not doing it just because of the sake of it. Which is what I had problems specifically with You Throw Like a Girl, which I didn't have for the other one. It says, Chef, some encounters require magical attack, while some require attack. The only real way to grow in the game is to spend your limited time slots on stat boosts. Do you have limited... Oh, I guess if you play with the... You reach certain level of corruption, you die? But I don't remember... I remember it being, like, relatively lenient on that aspect. But maybe it's because I played on the easy version where I don't have to worry about corruption so much. Maybe.
Well, if that's sort of one of the problems I see. If the difference between the easy and hard versions of a game is how much you grind, I think that's also a problem.
Hmm. I wouldn't be lying if I would be tempted to make one life sim. So many games, so little time. Why
Yeah.
doesn't life have a setting of, oh, can I just turn infinite time mode? And learn...
If I could just stop and get everything I wanted to do done right now. If I could just that would be the main use of me stopping time if I got like that power. It wouldn't be to like mess with people or anything like that. Just be, I just want to get shit done.
It's like my power is productivity.
But yeah, ultimately, grinding is a feeling. I think it boils down to that, and I think that's an important distinction. It's a feeling of progression that feels tedious,
Mm.
basically. That's when it becomes grindy.
How would you do it such that it need it needs to be repeated many times, but it doesn't feel tedious?
Why do you need to repeat it many times?
Imagine something like Stardew, where you have to go and water your plants every day. Do you think the eventual reward of a quote unquote plant would be enough for you to water the plants every day?
Well, I would consider the fact that the upgrade is not doing that with the sprinklers, right?
Mm.
If you get a rain on a day, that's considered, oh, yay, I don't have to do that. Does that feel like a reasonable assessment?
So have some way of skipping the grind could be a way, and then the eventual reward of no grind at all.
A build up to the I guess part of my point is that it's a little bit of an oxymoron, right? Where it's just sort of like this is so inherently contradictory to like the concept, but it does sort of work. I get where you're coming from.
There are certain
Chef
players.
quote
Go ahead.
Chef quote asked, "What should they get for lunch today?" What do
Noodles.
you think, Icarus? Noodles? Okay.
Yes, either uh, Asian noodles or spaghetti, aka pasta. Either Asian noodles or pasta.
No, no, the fox is not entirely a fox.
It's a fox person.
I actually sort of like when animals stay animals. Like I more like when humans get like cat ears and stuff like that than when like an animal becomes like human like.
Right? It reminds me of Persona 4 and 5, where Teddy and Morgana could just become human.
Oh, they added the Morgana thing to to Royal. That wasn't in the original Persona 5.
Yeah, neither was Teddy, I think, in Persona 4.
Teddy was always that. That was
Well,
always Teddy's thing.
Teddy was
They
always
had
there?
like a whole
Hmm.
Teddy was always there, including the human form. The Morgana thing was added on later for the re-release.
And Morgana is male ish, right?
Morgana is a guy. Teddy is like a pretty boy. Okay, Icarus, your choice.
I mean,
If you
we have been with the middle ground, so I think continue with the middle ground. Quick. And after this, I'm going to restart with the. Well, first of all, fix um, uh, Resident Maiden, but then restart with what you call it, with the between supports, Oathbreaker supports. Hey,
You consider your appearance. That's the potential line.
I'm ready. Should I switch?
You should do it now, just in case.
Just in case. Everything say so.
Currently, it's talking about the emotional element of it. It's hard to determine how you feel, but you should be feeling something other than confusion and uncertainty, right?
Hi, Bekue.
Okay, someone else came in, so I think that's probably not going to be a. Let's look at the D.
Unless it's worse.
Hello, Vaku.
Hi, friend. Something I can do really quick is people can see this. Yes.
Is Kui here? If I was Kui in this situation,
Is
for all
Kui?
things considered, I would probably put it off solely on the basis of one, I'm a lifelong procrastinator, and two, there are more important things. Uh, like the problem with the Gate of Alexandria, and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, that is that. This. Okay, that's 2 bugs out.
Oh, you fixed the bug. Good job. Uh-oh. You clicked out? Was it
Oh,
like that before?
I was checking the Discord. So
Oh,
I
no.
can check RPG
Do you,
Maker, but I cannot check
have you
Discord.
got have you got in Discord on your phone at this point?
I keep forgetting to do that.
That would maybe be a good thing to do right now, if you don't have it.
I have it. I just don't have the custom.
Logged into your accounts, or
No, what you call it? I'm not used to checking Discord on the phone.
that's fair.
Is what I meant.
That's how I check it throughout all of my day. I hope the
Go ahead.
cleaning. I hope cleaning your living room goes smoothly, Veku. I don't know how bad it is, so if it's anything like mine, good luck.
How often do you clean your living room?
Often,
Then why
trying to
is it messy?
quantify it in try, trying to quantify it in frequency would probably create a number that none of us can conceptualize in our heads.
It's higher than infinity, but less than nothing.
Are you saying, Kui, your power was raw power? Ooh, that's a reference. Not a reference. It's a reference by me.
What do you mean a reference by you?
Raw power is the item you use to get new classes in a between. I know it's not a reference, but it's the thing that came to mind for me.
You inspire a lot of people, so I wouldn't be surprised if some people just put things from between there.
There's a good amount of people who like my stuff that have started trying to make stuff, but I'm never going to claim that it's actually a reference unless it's very on the nose.
If Bennett suddenly
Like my
appears in IMS's comics, that'd be a thing.
yeah, it would be interesting. Would be interesting.
Atramentia also. Were they a fan of you, or.
Based on our discussions, I think they played between and liked it before. I don't think they took direct inspiration for their stuff, but there's definitely enough of a similarity in our styles to how we make the games that I can see it having an influence, if not an inspiration. Thank you for telling me, by the way, after I picked not to talk about it.
Is what I was
Whoa.
wondering. I thought you
Oh,
said you picked the option to not talk about it, and then I just saw you talking about it. Like I thought you were not talking about it. Or what I think. Something I'm relatively surprised with the Resident Maiden update is I did most of the text without a corrector. So I'm surprised people haven't found as many typos.
oh, give that one time. It requires the right person to sit down and look for them as they go. Usually most of my typos come from um, a few people being like, okay, I'm looking for these as I go. I heard those bones rattling.
Now that I have Discord on my phone, it doesn't help much. Because people are still sounding it. Really need to get the habit of cleaning. I've been quite frugal in front. The uncle cleaning his room thing kind of motivated me to try doing it all in one go. People are talking about cleaning the rooms. Hopefully Resident Maiden helps people clean their rooms. And not be an Ash.
As soon as people don't get the same results as Resident Maiden, maybe they won't though.
Like, I'm not getting possessed by my clothes. This is an outrage. This is outrageous. I demand my money. Huh. Well, I fixed the grand majority of the bugs. There were not that many. Just 3 that came often. Well, 2 that came often.
The next task for you is putting together a walkthrough that people can reference just in case. Even if it's just for the puzzles.
Yeah. Or rather than a walkthrough. Well, walkthrough / puzzle cheat sheet.
So grateful your benevolence, so Alexandria, not like some troll like Liebra. I will also say, on the topic of what we were at the start with the last section feels side questing, the fact that this is a lull in everything, and we're sort of resting and relaxing and being assessing where we are and all that, I think further emphasizes the need for the section before it in the mansion to feel more main story-ish.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, so that the pacing comes from a we're doing story down to a okay, we're taking a breath and then we get back into the story.
Did someone say possessed by clothes? I'll have to play that later. I released an update last night. Well, evening, night, So yeah, take a look. There's a lot of... hopefully, before lunch, I'll be able to update... No, I'll probably wait a little bit just for the write a bot scene. It's the only thing I'm missing. Oh, we're in another memory?
It's a dream, which is analogous to memory to an extent.
Ah. I'll try the optic when I can. Good luck. Has it ever been clear if Rem was a guy or girl at birth?
In terms of gender or sex?
Sex.
Sex, a guy. Since the whole thing is that it's the gate changed their physical sex to match their gender.
But they could always use magic, right?
Well, I assume the idea here is that the dream is imagining a memory, but if Remy was physically female as a kid.
Some sort of false memory, right?
Yep. I assume it's sort of combining like memories and desires and that sort of... It's a dream, basically, right?
Right. Possession is a hot commodity. Well, it's not possession per se.
Okay. Never mind. They're implying that Rem at this... Okay, so this is just straight up a memory. Never mind.
So they're a guy, they just dress as a girl, and want to be a real girl. Well, I just read real girl enough, right now.
Or even is just feminine enough as a child to come across as that to other people. Especially since kids don't tend to have as strong physical differences. If they just have long hair, that might be enough.
Yep. They just like the idea of being a girl or a guy. I'm ready.
I would just do it now, just in case.
Just in case, I did it.
Okay, it mentioned it, but it didn't go. But it didn't give a graphic. Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. for Resident Maiden, I implemented a voice change, and because I used the like voice per letter thing, so they sound like da 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 da. I could like raise the pitch so they sound quote unquote more feminine.
Was there a way to make that a permanent change?
Yep.
I think the tricky part about that has always been if you're going to do it to represent the voice, and if you have multiple characters, then do you make it so that it changes for every character?
I could actually.
You'd have to like set up a system. You'd have to make it so that you have like a common event or something called every time you switch who's talking, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Right?
The advantage is that I can when when I like invoke a sprite to say something, I can put in the same common event the change voice thing. So every time I show them on screen, they change the voice.
Right. Random advice for Atramentia. At a point like this, where Kui is basically just explaining the same thing that's been talked about like recently, I would, at that point, stop them talking, go to a narration box, and just say, so-and-so explained. And then come back to this. Just to reduce the redundancy on that thing, yeah.
Right now, how I have it set for the voice thing is that there are two voices. There's the male. Well, there's Ash's voice, and then there's the female voices. But I can just do it so that every character has their voice as well. The problem is finding a noise that sounds like a voice, and it's not grating. Essentially. Because I can use any voice, any special sound effect in RPG Maker. And right now I just use the cursor because the shortest and less annoying. I'll just have to experiment different sounds. Do you remember? Have you played Resident Maiden?
It was, if I did, it was the very first version where there's just a little bit, and I've been waiting. Usually, I wait on your games with the assumption we'll probably play them on stream at some point.
Once it's completed. I think right now is about
that
1/4.
Or like at a halfway point. Yeah, that or like a halfway point, or just whenever.
Mm-hmm. I think it's relatively short. I mean, it depends how fast you are with puzzles. That's the thing.
Depends on the puzzle.
Right now, at least some people are struggling, which I like. Reiko did not struggle at all. You had something to say?
Did Reiko test it, or?
No. She just like, oh hey, I played the game. Really cool. I like the images. So I like to imagine they literally just went in, played the game, finished everything in about half an hour. I mean, the update's probably no longer than half an hour. It's like 15 minutes if you know all the answers. I know because I speed ran it.
Yeah, it's hard to judge the length of what it'll actually be.
Yeah, especially for a puzzle. And especially if you like get stuck and try to find help and then wait for the help. And I think most of the people are just brute forcing the boss.
Is the boss a puzzle as well?
Yep. It's more actiony than puzzle. Like in one of the rooms I mentioned, oh, the boss has these weaknesses. And then you can go into the boss room and it's a bunch of music. Like music discs, and you need to put the correct music disc into the music box in order to quote unquote do damage. Migo face. What? Funny face go burr. But yeah. I mean, maybe if you're brute forcing the boss itself takes like 10 ish minutes?
Sorry, could you restate that? I was reading. I missed I think a few key sentences there, so I'm now confused.
If you brute force the boss, it will take you 10 minutes.
No, before that.
That the boss, you need to place a music disc into a music box in order to make damage.
Okay. So how would you brute force that?
You put all. You try every disc one by one until the boss is done.
Oh, so it's like a puzzle of picking the right music box?
Correct. There are a total of 18 music boxes? Out of those, only 3 deal damage. So yeah, it takes a while. Middle road, best road. It's a Hearthstone.
At the moment, for sure. I will say there does seem to be probably a bit excessive amounts of recapping of similar sentiments between this, the day before, and all that sort of stuff. That would probably be my thought on it at the moment.
Mm-mm.
Good, but maybe a bit redundant in a number of places.
I mean, I guess they were weaker. Oh, that's a joke. Somehow, I managed to pick my microphone. Did they tell you that you have to requip everything, or?
Uh, Everything got unequipped, yeah.
Mm. Tend to requip the other two as well. 2 to 3. Or 2 to 5.
It seems not. And I'm gonna guess what Atramentia did was for Nora and Remy literally just use different actors, hence why I couldn't adjust anything on them either.
Hmm. Maybe. It does make it easier on a developer standpoint.
Okay. Are we being sent on another potential side quest? It sort of sounded like that based on how they talked about it, at least.
More side quest. I mean, from the glimpses I got, you just are talking to Remy's brother, right?
No, the discussion was, hey, we need to go to this place. We'll take the dragon transport, but it's not going to be here for a bit. So let's go help with a cave-in problem. Which is very much yeah, even being introduced as just a way to spend time before we head off to what we're planning to do.
It's a filler quest. What sounds less aggressive, filler or side quest? Side quest, right?
Mm, Filler implies padding. I don't think it's padding. I think it's more putting the wrong emphasis on the reasons for doing stuff
Right.
to make it feel less consequential, basically, and to impair the uh impair the pacing as a result of that. Baku, I like these moments in games. Filler's more aggressive since it implies you get nothing out of it and won't be referenced again. Yeah, no, I think it's fine. There's definitely moments where you go do stuff that seems irrelevant and that becomes relevant, that sort of thing. I think those are generally fine and that sort of thing. Um, the tricky part is like the player motivation for doing it and feeling like the momentum of the story overall, that sort of thing.
I remember two episodes of My Hero Academia. Uh, They were technically filler in the sense of anything that's not canon is filler, but they were really good. Sadly, they were not referenced at a later date, which is a bummer. That reminds me, My Hero Academia is kind of bloated in their characters.
I know, because I followed along with the manga before it even like became an anime and whatnot. I know I got less interest in that as time went on, just because it spent so much time not progressing the story and focusing on other characters and their stuff and whatnot at a point. It just felt like the pacing slowed to a crawl. No matter how um, good the individual content was, enough of it without feeling like the main story is progressing, especially in like a manga format where you get content like here and there and that sort of like weekly maybe, and it takes like a couple months to get past this current plot point, which is perhaps relevant in like some world building or like setting up like, oh, what are the villains doing or something like that.
Mm.
It at a point it just feels slow, I guess would probably be the way to say it.
And that's when you dropped it, or did you finish it?
I have Is it finished?
I think so, yes.
I I have not finished it. Just over time, I got to a point where I put off reading it less and less to the point where it just got so long that it was like, uh,
Right.
I just had other stuff that I did, and it became too much of a feeling like work to catch up.
Mm-mm. I started reading, and then I saw that like the season 4 and then season 5 was out, and I was like, this is just gonna like continue till it finishes, right? Might as well just wait for the anime, and that's what I did. Do you watch a lot of anime?
Not nearly as much as I used to.
They're airing Ranma 1/2.
Yeah, that's probably one I want to watch.
Like one of the.
Mainly
Go ahead.
other parts. The main thing that I've watched recently is the new Dragon Ball.
Mm. Because some of my exercises rely, I have to like lay on the ground for half an hour. I think I have mentioned this before. Uh, but because I have to stay in the ground for half an hour, that's the time I watch anime. And since I have to do it daily, that equates to like 7 or so anime per season. Yay!
Vaku says, in Star Ocean, I did almost every quest because of secret party members. Certain quests lead to party members while others become lock, so you cannot get all the party members in one playthrough. I think that's fine. It's more when it's in the main story. If you want to give me a point to stop and do side quest or to unlock side quest and go do stuff, I'll go do side quest and then go back to the main story once I feel like I want that momentum again. So the optionality of it, I think, is significant in that sense as well.
You
Where
know,
you can choose where you feel like you want that feeling of momentum in the story.
something that happened. I think with Fantasy. I cannot speak. With Final Fantasy X, is that they introduce what appeared to be a side quest, but at the end of the game, it's like, oh, you need the thing that was like a side quest ages ago. It's like, you mean the thing I've been ignoring for the past 30 hours? Like, yes. And I think like you need to collect certain things. So the next like 10 hours is me backtracking to the whole map to get things. Like, if you're gonna make it side quest, Make sure it's side and optional, not mandatory.
Like, what sort of story was the quest?
Like collect magical crystals. Imagine something like that.
To
And
achieve what?
in the beginning, it's just like, oh, if you collect magical crystals, I'm just gonna give you like a sword or money, things like that. But at the end of the game, it's like, oh, you have to have collected 50 magical crystals to like make the ship move again.
That's interesting.
Oh, the light's gonna get dimmer and dimmer. Interesting.
Yeah, there was the two examples of poorly done side content being like required that come to mind is both in expansions for Xenoblade Chronicles. Xenoblade 2's expansion had a point where they literally like put a requirement on you had to have done so many side quests. We don't care which ones, they just need to be in the area and enough. Like the story literally stopped and is like, "Oh yeah, no, just go do side quests now." And then in Xenoblade Chronicles 3's um expansion, it tied the ability to progress your character's stats and whatnot to how much of the side content you have done,
Oh,
which was one of the worst game design decisions I have ever heard of. I gotta be honest. It was torturous playing through that in comparison to every other part of the series. If you're doing the side content anyways, you're not going to notice. But if you just want to, at a point, play the game and feel like you can like engage with the progression system in a way that gives you a chance in battles, it just feels like it doesn't want you to do that.
yeah, I
Like
can imagine.
I played the rest of the series, like Xenoblade Chronicles 1, its expansion, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, its expansion, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with doing just as much side content as I felt like doing. And I played those games largely on the hard modes too. Or eventually I got to the hard modes at the very least. Maybe not like the super hard modes and stuff like that. But as soon as I got to like the expansion for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, it became legitimately like I can't play this on the hard mode anymore. I need to like put this down to easy because like I'm not doing enough as much as is expecting me to progress.
Right.
I think I probably like could have done it fairly reasonably on normal. I think okay, this actually now thinking about it, this is what I ended up doing. What I ended up doing was I put it on easy most of the time, just playing through the game because like it was so very grindy on that side quest stuff that it was required to an extent. Then when I got to bosses, I put it up on hard, tried it. If I felt like I wasn't like another try or two away from beating it, I put it back down on normal and beat it on that pretty easily. Because the game doesn't make me feel like because the game requires the side content, I didn't feel like I had the options available to me to just switch things up, just re-strategize a little bit, and do better in the battles like I would have in every single previous entry of the series.
Right.
So yeah,
And what's the option? Go back and do the side quest now that you're like 20 levels above the required level?
in one, yeah, it's side quest as well as exploring the world, like going around and like picking shit up and that sort of thing. Xenoblade Chronicles has like a very much a lot of just walking around the world, and the expansion in particular had stuff where you just needed to search the world and literally pick up the ability to um, like upgrade your class or like use a third ability, that sort of thing. Like you literally had to go out and find in the world the ability to like use an additional ability, that sort of thing.
Right. A game that I felt the really good that thing was Atelier Sophie. Um, in that game, like you needed to
Sorry,
do.
sorry. Just before like entirely going on another one, just commenting on the story here. Polymorphing the monster into like a sheep or something. That's a pretty good idea if the magic system abides by your ability to do it. Sorry, you're saying it, Crew?
Or until your DM's tired of your shenanigans. I mean, turning the big bad evil into a sheep, it's a very D&D thing to do. Right. One game I think did the mandatory optional side content was Atelier Sophie. Because in that game, you need to do certain tight stuff like, oh, kill a certain amount of monsters, explore the world, so on and so forth, in order to progress through the story. But you needed to do it in chunks, and it's not just at the end of the game. It's like, okay, here's chapter 1, and here's the amount of faffing about you need to like complete chapter 1, and then we give you chapter 2. And then even then, they give you recipes, which is the main incentive of the game. Like, oh, you explore this place? Okay, here, you can make, like, an incense regarding this place. And the incense, like, gives you extra attack or something. Or here, you defeated 5 of this bird, now you can have, like, thunder bombs or something. Like, make the side quest rewarding unto itself, but if you're gonna require it, divide it in chunks. It's like, okay, 5 side quests on chapter 1, 5 side quests on chapter 2, 5 side quests on chapter 3, and not make like, okay, the final chapter equals like 30 side quests. And if you owe like 20 of them, like, it's gonna be a chore.
For sure. It's side quests are tricky, basically.
Yep, that's a good summary of the discussion.
No, I'm gonna regret this one.
Did you choose HP over damage, or?
Oh, okay. No, because he's blinded. I was assuming he's gonna miss.
Lux Rift says Jeb forcing side quests is bad, especially if they are boring, ergo not unique. Like, maybe if they force you to do things which you don't normally do but are still related to, like, the main gameplay loop. Something like Atelier Sophie, you were kinda gonna do them anyway, but they forced you to, like, break your routine, switch it up a little bit. Things that's not quite the same. It's like, oh, here's a JRPG about defeating God or something. But you're required to fish 30 times, 30 kinds of fish before we continue. I think Final Fantasy 15 had a whole DLC about fishing. If I remember
15?
correctly. Yeah, the ones with the guys in the car.
I don't know the DLCs for that very well because I just played it initially on release, felt satisfied by the ending, and moved on. I thought all the DLCs for that were based around characters.
Most of them. And I'm kind of angry they didn't finish all the DLC. Because I was like, okay, I'm gonna play it. I felt something was missing, and then they start releasing DLCs. And then they released DLC for the 3 main characters. And then they were gonna release DLC for like the enemy and the girlfriend, which I think needed a lot of development. Oh. And then they stopped because they ran out of money.
Because it didn't sell well enough to continue to justify continuing all that development.
Correct. I don't know how much it's the fault of 16 and how much it's the fault of Square Enix and how much the fault is of 14. Because if you see 14 money and be like, why you no earning 14 money? Like, we're pulling you out. I remember when it was called 13 versus 13. I don't remember 13 was milk to hell and back as well. 15 was milk.
Very much this cost a bunch of money, so let's put as much content out with the stuff we've already created so we can minimize the cost of the new content until it gets to a point where like it's not selling enough to justify even the additional development costs anymore.
Yep. And then they did 16. And I mean, I know 16's not worth a PS5, but at least now on Steam. '15 was originally called Versus 13 and was being worked on since the PS3, says Speckley. You played 16, right?
I haven't. I haven't gotten through it just because I don't have time to play all the video games I want to play.
Fair enough.
It was very much a thing that it was good. What I played through, it was pretty fun. Especially the spectacle of the Titans and stuff really like made it feel like really cool, that sort of thing.
Something I missed from the Final Fantasy series are girl protagonists. Are there girl protagonists in 16? Like those that follow the party?
Like party members?
Yeah.
Was there like I don't think there was like a proper party.
Mm.
I don't think it was like a party. It was honestly, it was more of an action game than it was a
JRPG?
RPG game.
Mm.
I would certainly say that this boss felt maybe twice as long as it needed to be.
Maybe if you didn't skip all the battles, this was easier. Scuff, scuff. It does felt like we've been here for like 5-10 minutes.
The problem isn't even the 5-10 minutes part, it's that it's the same throughout. Like, you can justify a long battle if it has, like, phases and you change up the, like, nature of it significantly so it feels fresh partway through.
Mm-hmm.
Boss design is so incredibly important. Uh, Encounter design, including boss design. Ah, hello, buddy.
Was it Thief of Immune? Asked Beckway. Or BQ.
Are there significant debuffs? Because I was putting ice on it. I put some attack defense debuffs on it. I don't think I have that many. I remember looking through my abilities, and I don't have that many like debuffs that I can really use. Um, yeah, there was one that like reduced attack and defense, and I tried using that, and I didn't feel like it increased the output very much in terms of the damage I was doing. Maybe I'm underestimating the effectiveness of making that go quicker, but it didn't feel like it when I tried it, at the very least.
Oh, another
Um,
boss fight.
with a changed party member, okay. Good thing I lost my healer.
uh, Chef says, who keep actionifying the Final Fantasies? They took the RPGs away. I mean,
I'm honestly not so um attached to Final Fantasy and that sort of stuff.
I do feel
I'm not,
so.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, yeah, I'm not like super attached to the Final Fantasy stuff that I like care too much if they try to bring it in another direction. The JRPG turn-based stuff that I've always liked has not been Final Fantasy in that sense. Sort of like the new Dragon Age game, which I've been playing, where it's fun. It is significantly more actiony than the previous stuff, and it's obvious that they're sort of going for more action RPG than they are going for like the CRPG sort of like traditional like the old Dragon Age stuff. They sort of went. They're not really trying for that anymore. And to be honest, as a big fan of Dragon Age 1, 2, and 3, I never liked any of their combat systems. So it's just like, as a turn-based and like combat liker, I don't like that the systems that they used previously, anyways. Final Fantasy is more a classic for sure, uh, but in what little I've played of it, I've never seen it as particularly. I think they'd have to evolve it significantly to make it relevant, and I think other games have already just evolved into other stuff that fill that role, anyways.
Did you play Dragon Age 2?
I did. I've played all of them. Yeah.
Is it more actiony than Dragon Age 2?
Then Dragon Age 1,
Than 2?
then 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
for sure.
Oh.
Dragon Age 2 wasn't an action RPG by any means.
It was more actiony than 1. And I think it was more actiony than 3 even. Like 3 was
No, I'd
a
say
little
that
bit slow.
I well, like pace maybe, but like 1, 2, 3 were a you take the party members, you place them, and then you use abilities and that sort of stuff as you do that. Veilguard is very much a you're controlling one character and you have abilities and you tell them to do stuff and you pause it sort of to like choose abilities to use, but it's not like about sort of like the positioning element of it for the or like party positioning. The positioning is very much, it has like that Final Fantasy 14, it put AoE on the ground and stuff like that, to the point where it's like fast paced enough for like patterns and stuff in like an action game sense that you could never really justify making like the party members have their own health bar because they just die, and you'd have to be like concerned about leading the AoEs into your like AI party members.
Your party members don't die?
Yeah, they don't have, it's just your health bar basically. Yeah.
Huh. Because even Mass Effect had, like, they had their own HP-ish, I think.
But it's a different boss design. It wouldn't make sense with the boss design specifically, because the boss design is based not around like Mass Effects where it was they're using abilities and like RPG mechanics and stuff like that. It's more like, have you played or you know how Final Fantasy 14 works at all?
No.
So Final Fantasy 14 sort of works in the sense where, in like WoW and stuff like that, where the boss has like set abilities that they do, and there's like a pattern, and if you know the pattern, you can sort of move out of the way. And Final Fantasy 14, I guess in particular, I don't know about WoW, has an idea of like putting AOE's on the ground so you know where the attack is going to land. And like I did a boss yesterday in the Dragon Age game where the mechanic in question was it stares at you and it tracks your location for like a line AoE coming out of it. And then a little bit before it launches, it stops and sets in that place, but it tracks you for a few seconds. So you can easily just accidentally line up your AI party member and kill them in that sense. If it was like significantly slower and you could be very like diligent about placing yourself and moving around party members and stuff like that to make sure they're out of the way, that's fine. But it's a fast pace sort of setup in that sense.
I might give it a try once it's on the discount then.
Yeah, I don't blame anyone for that. If you've liked the previous Final, so far my impression of it is that it feels like Dragon Age. It feels a little bit like Dragon Age Light, uh, in a sense. Like it feels like, and maybe it's starting to open up more. So maybe this opinion will change. But it's taken a while, and it's felt more like how you'd have like. It feels like a very very long expansion, more so than it feels like a full game in the series. That sort of thing. If that makes sense.
Expansion to Inquisition?
Probably. It is a different character, but the story does sort of just start off running with Inquisition stuff. It does actually sort of feel like it could be like a big expansion to Inquisition. That is actually a good way to phrase it.
I don't think I've ever been a fan of Dragon Age, even though I played all three. Like, I'm not a fan of the lore. I think it's a little bit too grim, I think, to my liking. I'll be honest, I don't remember much.
A little bit too much what?
A grim. Like, gray. Like, it's fantasy, yes, but it's way too dark. Like, things die, and it's like all seriousness and things. With the exception of Barrack.
Oh, like Varric's basically the series mascot at this point.
Yeah.
He's in Veilguard, as an FYI.
I can imagine. Because he's the only one that survived. We don't see it in 1, right? It's not in Origins.
No, he was introduced as part of Dragon Age 2. And then he became popular enough via that to put him in Inquisition, and now he's in Veilguard.
Like, I think one of the things why Barrack was popular is because the setting's grim, and Barrack's the only one that is like, yo, everything's grim, let's take a drink.
Grim.
Grim.
That's a way to phrase it.
I think I played through inertia because there wasn't really that many games that, like, were fantasy. Pretty much. Like before the indie boom of Steam.
That's fair. Like, I'm not actually big on fantasy settings almost ever, but I actually am like a fan of Dragon Ages. I think something about like the Darkspawn sort of like concept and some of the more like grim elements that they introduce to mix it up do actually work pretty well for me.
Hmm, that's good. I like colorful fantasy, and everything's happy, and everything's colorful. And I'm redundant. But going back to Chef's thing, who keep actioning Final Fantasy, I think something funny happened where they keep actioning Final Fantasy, which gave birth to another studio that also worked at Square Enix, which produces Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler, and those are like true and traditional JRPGs. You have a party, it's turn-based system, but it's not like, but they're trying to do something new, which is funny because its own Final Fantasy developed a niche, like a gap in the niche, and then filled it up with another developer company. Lux Rift says, I like Final Fantasy 14 quite a bit, the only MMO I've ever played for a good while. Are you an MMO person?
Not really, but Final Fantasy 14 can basically be played like a single player game. And the main reason I play it is because I have some friends who play it, and I liked some of the. I play usually when a new expansion comes out, I'll play it for a little bit. It's not usually the MMO elements that I'm a big fan of. I'll play for a little bit, get my fill of it, wait for the next expansion, which is where I am now currently.
Waiting for the next expansion.
Basically, yeah. As a general additional thought on the topic of, well, maybe it would be best to wait to after the fight in case after Mentia just skips. Ooh, that was big.
Did you crit?
Maybe? I didn't see the red. And right back into the calm music again. That might be a case where you want to like start the music slightly before the battle and let it go into the battle and then exit out of the battle. So you just have the tense music still going afterwards. Oh no. There's another one? And I still don't have much of it. I have some healing, I guess.
Is this the third boss in a row?
Yeah, basically.
First it was the worm, then it was the brother, and now it's the shadow. Hopefully it's weak. It doesn't. It doesn't look weak. It's like good old school JRPG school. That does remind me of a fight in Final Fantasy X, which was like, okay, first you fight a girl, then you fight a girl and the monstrosity, and then you just fight the pure monstrosity. Good old Final Fantasy.
I got something. What the? It got a. Did it just get more weaknesses?
Maybe it's a status effect? Oh, you're silenced. Speaking of Final Fantasy, it's funny how so many status effects come from Final Fantasy, I think. I'm pretty sure silence comes from Final Fantasy, I think.
The Dragon Quest, or did it change again? What's going on with that in terms of the weaknesses?
And you wanted a boss that changed dynamically, and you have a boss that changed dynamically.
Well, I'm not sure what's going. I'm not sure if that's a mistake or if it's not communicating it to me in a way that I'm sure what I'm looking at, I guess.
Right.
Also, I don't know if Atramenti, if you made the face expressions on this, but if you did for the shade, good job, because they actually look pretty good.
Oh, and it changed again.
It might be changing based on what you most recently hit it with.
Check phone. Oh, that reminds me, the spooky sounds are still on even though it's November 1st.
I think you need to update your Discord. I don't know if they've made that change, but at the very least, they started with an update to Discord. Though maybe you don't need to do that online if you're not using it, if you're not doing like the app client.
I use the browser, so it should update automatically, I think. one hit point wonder.
Oh, that thing died. Uh,
Ready for a fourth boss fight.
I like boss rushes. I wasn't expecting it though. Um, the boss rush. So that was definitely more interesting with the changing, like weaknesses and stuff. So that was a lot more interesting to go through. I think that was a good mechanic. Just as a reference, I think for the narration stuff, you have Atramenti. I think you've traditionally put that in the middle of the screen. So just FYI, that might be a deviation. Also, I recognize this map.
Is it the boat or did you get a screenshot that we didn't?
No, this is just one. This is actually one of the pre-built maps. So I assume this was just I need a place to put them really quickly. So I took this pre-built map
Maybe.
because I've seen it in other games. Basically, I think it's significantly more decorated, but the structure is the same as some of the other ones I've seen.
I'll just mute the Discord. Uh, although I feel it's here as well. Okay. Okay, I think Discord didn't got a piece of it, which is good. Spoopy mentioned.
So that seems like a long time. 10 years.
They haven't
Wow.
seen each other.
Okay. No, that shade had control of him.
Oh.
There was a whole thing about him seeming sort of like an asshole a lot of the time.
Mm.
He still has a face I want to punch, though.
Schmug. Oh, did you see he has like a very small beard on his chin?
Oh yeah, yeah. He has the little scruffy little goatee. Which do you want? Icarue, your choice.
I feel direct might be better. Scenic might give us to another side quest.
I don't. Based on how the game has been, I don't think it would do that. I think it might just spend more time explaining some world lore.
Oh, your choice then. If you want more lore, then you can go
Okay.
the scenic route.
I think it's probably best to judge it under that too. I think the choice is very good if it really does end up being that. Oh, sort of like a recap. Okay. And it was quick. Ooh. Okay.
He looks like Shinji from Fate.
Yeah, no, the face you want to punch. I think that's a good example of that. Okay, that wasn't bad in the slightest. Basically, short little recaps and introductions to the world. The fact that it's optional means I don't need to know any of that, and it was quick and uh, painless. So yay!
Yay.
I think that was very well done for what it wanted to do.
I think we should go to the city that is Fandalore. I was thinking to go to the city that has like the moving thingies. Oh, you might
I
wanna.
didn't know Valentia was a. I didn't know Valentia was a party member.
You might wanna feel that slot.
Kingdom Hearts. Ooh. Oh.
Meanwhile, elsewhere.
Oh, this is a similar structure with different. Okay, I see what Achimentia did. Just took a ready-made structure and then fancied it up as necessary, which makes sense considering houses would probably be built with a very similar structure, anyways. Uh,
Roads.
so 6. What's up with the Clawed Demon? I have no idea what you're referring to. You might want to be more specific.
Do you have any Cloud Demons in between?
What's a clawed demon?
It's not Claw Demon, right? CLAW? That's...
That rings no bells as to Claude, one of the protection fire emblem, his famous for being upside down in the box art. Oh, you mean my avatar being upside down on Discord at the moment? Oh, yeah. That's a thing. They're upside down because that's canon.
Good explanation, I think? Question mark?
I forgot it was showing our Discord avatars in the stream as well.
I'll mute myself for a bit. I'll be right.
You have not muted yourself at the moment, FYI. Yeah, and
Sorry, not Discord.
no.
I muted on Twitch.
I want to wait.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Oh.
there we go.
And I went away. Okay, back. Yeah, we're good. Are we good?
Yep. Did
Okay.
you understood anything out of either the language itself or emotions?
I don't. It was a very quick thing. I don't have any strong impressions as to exactly what it meant, but it's also on recording now. Or it was or I guess not if you muted Twitch.
I muted
No,
Twitch.
I didn't understand. Okay. No, I didn't understand anything.
You're the only one that will
Should
hear
I understand?
the Chankla language.
I mean, should I understand? Is it worth explaining at this moment?
I'm just wondering how much out of pure emotion could a person with no knowledge of the language would be able to understand.
I mean, I took Spanish classes in high school, not that I remember much. And I'm half Mexican myself, so I've heard Spanish before being spoken by relatives.
So does it generally sound more angry than English?
I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. It's not like German where everything sounds angry.
How about more singy? We get that Mexican
It
specifically.
sounds more. It sounds like it has more flow to it. Or English is, I have this syllable. Whenever I hear Spanish, it sounds very like all the syllables flow much more into each other. And maybe that's just me not understanding the language.
Right.
That things tend to, and that could be a part of that.
My mom just wanted to enter my room and start making noise. And I told her, could you come back in like 10 minutes? For the longest time, my eyes kept autocorrecting the PFP. Huh, interesting. To what, though? Do you see Claude or
The
do you
upside
see the
down one.
demon?
I think upside down to right side up.
I need to play more between.
It's not a between thing.
Oh. Is it an afterlife thing?
I don't make Afterlife, Icarue. Though I
Uh,
guess Afterlife did have like a demon. Um, what was her name? I don't even remember anymore.
it's
It's
the
been so long, but she was
secretary.
always funny. Yeah, it's
I
been
mean, I
so
know
long.
it from the Between artist.
It's one of the like 3, 4 artists I regularly use, and I know that it's the same artist that has done the title screen and credits art for Between.
Because if you say it's
Ori, yeah, that
canon,
sounds right. Ori.
if you say it's canon, she's from a story.
I'll leave that at that.
Mysterious mystery. Is it canon to a story we know? Or is it a project you've been secretly working? NDA.
It's not something anyone that I haven't, out of the few people I've talked to about, would be aware of. No.
Okay. So, I'll just reply with a meme. Alright, keep your secrets. I still miss Afterlife and Blood Magic. I actually got excited for Blood Magic at some point. I think Reiko was also excited for Blood Magic. She made some fan art, if I remember correctly. It's so weird about the internet. Sometimes you are there and then you'll never know when you'll log in for the last time. I think the first thing that came to mind when I saw your thing, it was Ori from Afterlife.
Hmm. Okay.
Unsure why. I mean, the first thing I thought is like, it's a Between character I haven't played enough to know it's Between. I do. I can say something about my PFP. It's not canon. Well, it's technically is canon, but it's never in the game.
What game was that for?
Rebirth of Eden.
Was it for that? Okay.
Yep. This is supposed to
Why
be
did it never
Eve
make it
on
in the game?
her. Nope, it never made it into the game. It was supposed to be Eve in her priestess outfit.
For what? At what point did she need a priestess outfit? I forget. It's been a while.
I would say after. So during the. I'll call it prologue. A very long prologue. Uh, you were tasked to become a shrine maiden of 2 shrines. You can either become the shrine maiden of the corrupt shrine or become the shrine maiden of the pure shrine. Uh, and if you become the shrine maiden of the pure shrine, you essentially become a gardener. Well, more gardener. Like it's a shrine with plants, and you need to water the shrine, so on and so forth.
So the idea is that was gonna be like your base outfit.
Yeah, like you can change outfit into the shrine, into the pure shrine maiden or the corrupt shrine maiden. But due to the complexity of the paper doll, I decided to discard the idea. Row, row, fight the power. Every
Yeah,
time
that
I
makes
heard
sense
her.
enough.
Do you think it's a good time to call it a stream? Do you have the power to pause and save?
I don't know. Does anyone know the how much more is left in it? Because I think last time we talked about, we thought there's like one more stream worth.
You might want to save before anything. Oh, you're back in the castle.
Yep, back to the place we started in.
There's no one have replied anything.
Yeah, I think we don't have the having played it gang here today, like we had last time.
And
Are
in
you
order,
offering me for me to look at the hidden place? That's great.
uh, let's see. I'm gonna pause the stream a bit. Uh, Sword and Soul. Like just search sword.
I mean,
Change log.
dun, dun.
The
That is
change
me
log
with
doesn't
between.
tell
I
me
think
much.
of Libra instead of Libra. Yeah. Um, I think. I wonder what percentage of the between um, player base pronounces it Libra instead of Liebra. I've had times where I like try to emphasize it via like someone says it slowly and it's like Lee, bra, libera, libera me from hell. Okay, actually,
Have you
oh,
seen
okay.
what's the name? Gurren Lagann.
A long time ago, but yeah, I get the reference for both of those.
Very good anime. I think it's one of the few anime I can say it's filled with testosterone. It's not manly, but it's filled with testosterone. Hard to describe.
Okay, it's making it do more.
Is this the Palace of Ralts?
No, we're in what's it called? Pendalore, Temple of the Holy so and so.
Is this after the Palace of Ralt?
I feel like yes, because someone mentioned it in a recap at a point. The Palace of Ralt. What are the locations around? Just go Palace of Ralt and go backwards.
It says that for 0.4a, so there is skip codes, right? And the
Okay.
last skip code says skip to after the Palace of Ralt. So it says after the Palace of Ralt, to the Palace of Ralt, to the Siren Song after Argan's fall, to Evergrave, the underground area where the gate is, and then the Arcanist Tower.
Okay, what's the code
725.
for the last one? Ralt Palace.
So the quest of the Holy Order.
Palace of was that the Kingdom Palace? That might be what it was. Where the prince and princess was.
Maybe. Where you act as a maid, right?
Yep. Okay. This is basically where we started
The stream,
for the
yeah.
day.
Uh, so who
So
knows how long we
presumably,
have left?
yeah, I mean, if you want to call it and just have a second game planned for next time we play, uh, that's also an option.
Sure, and we
Like
can
maybe I
ask
can play Resident
Atramantia
Maiden.
how much is left.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I will leave it there then.
Sounds cool.
Okay. Overall, I'd say still very similar in terms of quality. I'd say
Do you think the
I'd
bosses
say I'm not
were?
sure.
Go ahead.
I didn't mind the bosses too much. I feel as though if you mixed up the encounter design like the last one more throughout that process, it would have been better without shortening the bosses. But it wasn't too bad, especially by the end, because there was that whole like elemental switch up mechanic going on that I sort of figured out as I went.
Right. Well, that's good then.
Uh, I'd say generally my criticisms boil down to a very similar thing as the previous ones, and I felt like it continued here, where on a moment to moment writing, there is a tendency to try to like spend a bit long on some topics sometimes. Not always. Like, I think how often it happened was like maybe once or twice throughout this, um, in comparison to some of the previous ones where it was like it happened. Uh, I think that is I think it's in a pretty good place, especially in the more recent stuff. It's not like so frequent that it's happening that it's like a big deal in any capacity. It's just noticeable. Um, on a bigger scale, the progression of what are we going to do? Like what is the current conflict? Once we got Carrington sort of cured, and now we're back here to talk about it and that sort of stuff. Um, so like the mine ended up being a main story thing.
Hmm.
And I actually think that it felt like it was going to be side questy again, but it wasn't too bad because it ended up being a main story thing. Now we're back here. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I do feel as though we've had a lot of sort of like sit and breathe moments where we've talked about like where we are, feelings, and what people think, and that sort of stuff. Um, which is fine unto it, which is fine to have. It's just maybe happening the breath of air of relaxation, that sort of stuff, before you get back into it, might be happening a little frequently at this point. If I was here sitting, what I think should happen next is I think there should be a significant upheaval of the current status quo to the point of establishing a momentum again. Because we're basically at the point where we're like, well, we sort of removed all the conflicts and now we just, figuring out where we are sort of place.
Hmm. Yep. Sounds fair.
So I still think it's good. I would still give it like an 8 out of 10, but I think like there's the potential there to be like get up to a 9.5 and how much I would enjoy it
Hmm.
if some of that stuff was hammered out and improved. Battle system wise, I think it's good is probably the best way to phrase it, in the sense that it's generally a quite good take on what is essentially like sort of like the base RPG Maker sort of combat. It's much more fleshed out, and there's a little bit like the mechanic that talked about with the shade, where it's changing elements and stuff like that. The thing that you end up falling into for a lot of RPG Maker combats for novices going into working with it is that they very often end up just making a bunch of skills or not making skills would be the worst version of it. Making a bunch of skills and they don't really go together all that well in like a way that sort of contributes to like a cohesive mechanic and stratagem, and just sort of like, oh, reduce their like this skill does that, and then you just stumble, you just sort of like gravitate towards what feels the most optimal, and you just do that over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Between was. Between was absolutely that at first, where I gave a bunch of skills and there was like some optimal setups, and people just did that to sort of burn through bosses and stuff for damage and such. And I didn't really like where it was with that. I know Atramentia has talked about wanting to redo the combat in a significant way. Um, I don't know precisely what they have in mind, but at the same time, I do think that there's potential there. At the moment, I'd say it's a very good. I would say it's probably in a similar place as what Between was before I did the revamp.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a good chance that's probably a fair comparison. Um, but that basically means there's a lot of potential on the how everything interacts with each other, particularly in encounter design, to create more engaging battles. Basically,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
overall, so that might be one of the weaker stuff, but it's like one of the better like versions that you might find in an RPG Maker game in this sort of space. Absolutely, it's probably like top 5, 10, like what, like top 5, 10, 1%, somewhere in that range of quality. I think, at least in how I interpret what quality is for that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion, and I
Oh,
haven't seen a ton of reason to think that's going to change anytime soon. So I think that wraps it up. I'd say a very solid 8 out of 10 at this point. 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, somewhere in that range in terms of how I think the quality is of the game.
my wrapping point is: did you notice that the gold has a smiley face?
Hot damn. I did not.
That's my closing argument.
I did not. That's fun. Uh, okay. I think that's a good place to end it.
Yep. Uh, so next week or next two or again in 2 weeks?
I am in 3 weeks because this is technically my next week one moved up a week.
Got it. So in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks, we'll see how much more we have and go from there.
Maybe there's a new update. Unsure. Probably not. No expectations on that from Intia.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it takes a long time to make updates. Absolutely no
Yeah.
obligation to do that.
I,
If
I,
anything, I'd probably want it to take longer than that for the sake of you taking your time and for the sake of me not feeling like I need to go redo stuff.
I tried to focus a lot on Resident Maiden in October, and you saw that I barely made it like 2 days ago. I was like, okay, I did it with 24 hours to spare. Blip.
Nah, you get to go fix stuff.
Now you got to fix stuff. And I have to add a
Okay.
scene to describe your buttock.
Okay. Okay, that's probably a good place to end it.
Hello,
So,
Reiko. Bye, Reiko. Sounds
and
like a
Reiko,
plan.
just remember there is a stream today. Oh, Reiko, you might know how much longer is left in the game. I don't. Have you played the full thing at this point for the most recent one?
Come on, Reiko. Be our savior.
Because this legitimately could be, oh, you have like 10 minutes left, and we just, okay, well, we'll just do this now then.
We're at the Holy Temple
Uh,
of the Beginning.
Yeah, we have
From
returned
the
back to the Holy Temple, basically, after the dragon. For Sword and Soul. Do you remember where it ends?
For
We
this
just
game
got back to the
we're
Holy
currently
Temple from the
playing.
beginning.
I appreciate the commentary. Glad you enjoyed it. Uh, 10 minutes, then we watch Icarue play Metaphor again.
Eh,
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, we'll just leave it for next time, no matter how long it is. So,
Yep,
leave it there,
we can play
and we'll see you
Satisfactory.
all, or something like that. Maybe we can do multiplayer games again. It's been a while.
We can play
Uh,
multiplayer Satisfactory.
yeah, I think you were also planning to do scary stuff with Kuroko next week.
Something like that. I'll have to
Something,
organize
something.
myself with Kuroko.
Hmm.
He could play Resident Maiden.
No, I mean, if it comes down to it, like next time we do it, it could very much be we do this and then I do Resident Maiden. We'll figure that out when the time comes.
Yep, yep.
We'll have something planned. Either way, see you all next time.
See ya.
Drive safely, everyone.
Done. No, wait, that's the incorrect one.